Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. This is going to be 13 of 31 of the Sister Wendy Nelson Challenge. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you end up liking it, hit the notification bell, and also make sure to leave your comments. Um, the title of this talk is Witnesses, Aaronic Priesthood Quorums, and Young Women Classes. All right, I'm just going to read the whole thing because it's really short, and he references two other talks to expand on what he's introducing here. So, um, dear brother, well, no, I'll read this first. The adjustments we will now announce are intended to help young men and young women develop their sacred personal potential. Okay. Dear brothers and sisters, it is wonderful to be with you again in General Conference. Earlier this week, announcements were made to members of the church about changes in policy regarding who may serve as witnesses to baptism and sealing ordinances. I would like to highlight those 3 points. A proxy baptism for a deceased person may be witnessed by anyone holding a current temple recommend, including limited use recommends, which makes sense because, I had the opportunity to go with the youth for a youth temple trip, and, uh, you know, uh, there were those that had the limited use recommends, obviously, and they were able to be witnesses for the baptisms, and it was a special thing. Um, Any endowed member with a current temple recommend may serve as a witness to sealing ordinances, living and proxy. Um, any baptized member of the church may serve as a witness of the baptism of a living person. This change pertains to all baptisms outside the temple. So all you need for a living person for baptism is have or be baptized yourself. Um, these policy adjustments are procedural. The underlying doctrine and covenants are unchanged. They are equally um, efficacious in all ordinances. So basically, it doesn't really make a difference. It's not going against doctrine or anything like that, and it's equally as effective, I guess. These changes should greatly enhance family participation in these ordinances. I also want to speak to you at this time to introduce adjustments that pertain to our youth and their leaders. You'll remember that I have invited the youth of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So he's using the whole church there to kind of like emphasize the youth of our church to enlist in the Lord's Youth Battalion. There it is again. There it is again. It keeps coming up. Oh yeah, by the way, we are now in October 2019 General Conference. So um, again, this whole idea, the Lord's Youth Battalion, that was first introduced in 2018 with the Hope of Israel worldwide youth devotional that they did. And it was a big milestone. It was a landmark one where this concept was introduced. And again, I've done a video on that. I'd invite you to go watch it if you haven't already, and just watch the actual devotional for yourself, because it was not just like another devotional. It was like a really important one. So enlist in the Lord's Youth Battalion to participate in the greatest cause on the earth today, which is the gathering of Israel. And footnote 1, it takes you to that. It takes you to that worldwide youth devotional that I was just talking about. I have issued this invitation to our youth because they are unusually gifted in reaching out to others and sharing what they believe in a convincing fashion. The cause of the gathering, is an essential part of helping to prepare the world and its people for the second coming. So, in other words, I feel like he believes that the youth right now are like actually a really key part of preparing for the second coming, to gathering those remaining people, as many as possible, before the second coming. Okay, in each ward, excuse me, in each ward, in each ward, sorry, the Lord's Youth Battalion is led by a bishop. All right. In each ward, the Lord's Youth Battalion is led by a bishop, a dedicated servant of God. His first and foremost responsibility is to care for the young men and young women of his ward. This is interesting. I had not really thought about this, heard this, or was aware of this, that um, each ward's youth battalion is led by the bishop, and they are his first and foremost responsibility. Uh, it's interesting. I don't know if this is how it was before. I don't know, but this really stood out to me. The bishop and his counselors direct the work of the Aaronic Priesthood Quorums and young women classes in the ward. Um, the adjustments we will now announce are intended to help young men and young women develop their sacred personal potential. We also want to strengthen Aaronic Priesthood Quorums and young women classes and provide support to bishops and other adult leaders as they serve this rising generation. I don't know. Again, I just feel like there's kind of like emphasis on this generation. Um, I think about, well, first of all, I think about the millennials. I feel like he had already talked to them during that BYU Hawaii devotional, where he said that millennials is the perfect name for that generation because they literally are going to be living through the millennium. He basically just said that, right? And so if that's how he felt about the millennials, this next generation, Generation Z, because the millennials are also Generation Y. So you have Generation X, and then you have the millennials slash Y generation, and then after that is Z, and then after that there's like more names that are coming out. I think there's like Alpha or something like that. So anyway, just the point is, if that's how he viewed the millennials, then he probably really views these guys as really important and just gonna be there for again for the second coming of the Lord. Um, okay, Elder Quentin L. Cook will now discuss the adjustments that relate to the young men. And tonight at the General Women's Session, Sister Bonnie H. Cordon, Young Women's General President, will discuss the. Oh my gosh. Oh, sorry, I'm full of yawns today. We'll discuss the adjustments that relate to the young women. The First Presidency and the 12 are united in endorsing these efforts to strengthen our youth. Now look at this. Oh, how we love them and pray for them. They are the hope of Israel, which is what he tied. What that was the name of that devotional. The name of the 2018 devotional was Hope of Israel. So they are the hope of Israel, Zion's army, right? The Lord's Youth Battalion, Zion's army, children of the promised day. Children of the promised day. What day do you think that is? Do you think maybe that's the second coming? That's what I think. So what I'm going to do now, I just want to hit on the main points that were brought up in Elder Cook and Sister Cordon's talks, where they introduced the changes, and just a couple other things that I noticed. So he talks about this is now adjustments to strengthen youth by Elder Quentin L. Cook. He says the ongoing restoration of the gospel, right? He's highlighting the fact that the restoration isn't complete, that there's more that's happening and being restored. So, and then as President Nelson suggested last year, you have taken your vitamins, right? Because he said buckle up and make sure to take your vitamin pills because it's going to be exciting as we move forward with all the changes that are happening. And these are some of those changes that he was alluding to. This focus must be spiritually powerful and help our youth become the youth battalion President Nelson has asked them to become. Interlocking patterns. These efforts, together with those announced during the last few years, are not isolated changes. Of course they're not, because they just like keep coming. It seems like they're all part of the same thing. So sorry, Elder Cook, I don't think anyone's thinking that. Each of the adjustments is an integral part of an interlocking pattern to bless the saints and prepare them to meet God. Do you think that he's simply talking about after this life, like when we die? I don't think so. I think that, no, he means prepare them to meet God, as in Jesus Christ when he comes at the second coming. One part of the pattern relates to the rising generation. There it is. Our youth are being asked to take more individual responsibility at younger ages, without parents and leaders taking over what youth can do for themselves. Now, Elder Cook, I've noticed, he really likes footnotes. As you can see here, he has a lot. Um, but the one that I want to point out in this video is, crap, let me go. I hate it when that happens. Number 5. Okay, now listen to this. In 2019, so it's the year of this conference, because again, this is October 2019. So in 2019, 11-year-old deacons began passing the sacrament, and 11-year-old young women and young men received limited use temple recommends. Last year, President Nelson challenged our young men and young women to be part of a youth battalion to gather scattered Israel on both sides of the veil. Okay, let's see. And then he references the Hope of Israel, Worldwide Youth, or the Worldwide Youth Devotional. The response has been dramatic. Full-time missionaries now serve in an exceptional way at younger ages. So it's a hastening, isn't it? Isn't it a hastening of the work? Like it's like a final push. It's the final crunch to try and get as much done as possible. So they lowered the age, right? So it's affected missionary work, obviously. Since October 6th, 2012, young men have been eligible to serve at 18 years of age and young women at 19 years of age. So we had that drop in the missionary age in 2012, and then more recently, the change in the youth, dropping it down to basically to 11, being able to go to the temple. Essentially, that's really what this is about, is going to the temple to do more work, get more done, I think in preparation for the second coming. Okay, young men presidencies at the Lord level will be discontinued. So what happened here is now the bishop is like, he was already the president of the priesthood, or the high priest that was over the Aaronic priesthood in the ward, but now he's taken over this responsibility right here that used to be performed by the young men presidencies, right? Let's see. As this account suggests, these adjustments will help bishops and their counselors focus on their core responsibilities to the youth and primary children. Place the power and duties of the Aaronic priesthood at the center of every young man's personal life and goals. These adjustments also emphasize the responsibilities of Aaronic Priesthood Quorum presidencies and their direct reporting line to the bishopric. Motivate adult leaders to assist and mentor Aaronic Priesthood Quorum presidencies in magnifying their power and authority and the authority of their office. And then here's like a little diagram. Here's the bishop, and basically, so he's directly responsible for the youth, being a common judge in Israel, caring for those in need, like the church welfare program. But not only that, but just like, caring for the Lord, finances and temporal affairs. I guess that's like basically the same thing. And then over here, he's over the Elders Quorum and Relief Society. They report to him, and then they under them, you have ministering, temple work, family history, missionary work, quality of teaching. So there it is. Did I do anything? The word mutual will be retired and become young women activities and Aaronic Priesthood Quorum activities, or youth activities. Let's see. The Bishopric Youth Committee meeting will be replaced by a Ward Youth Council. Okay, that's pretty much all that I took out of this. I'll put all these links below so you can go and, if you want to like dig into it deeper. And then I went over to Bonnie H. Cordon's talk. She's the Young Women General President. She says, "We are witnessing an outpouring of revelation that is both soul-stretching and exhilarating." So just highlighting the fact that so much is happening right now in the church. Tonight, I would like to announce a revision to the young women's theme. And then you can read that here. Notice the shift from we to I. These truths apply to you individually. Okay. Second, Elder Neil A. Maxwell said, "So often what people need so much is to be sheltered from the storms of life in the sanctuary of belonging. Our classes must be sanctuaries from the storms, secure places of love and belonging." So basically, no one should feel left out. They should be able to come there and feel like they belong, and feel the spirit and be like outside of the world and be among Zion, I would say. Um, for over 100 years, young women have been divided into 3 classes. Beginning immediately, we invite young women leaders and bishops to prayerfully consider the needs of each young woman and organize them according to the ward's specific circumstances. Here are some examples of how this might look. If you have few young women, you could have one young women class with everyone meeting together. So that's like regardless of age. Perhaps you have a large group of young women age 12 and then a small group of young women who are older. You may decide to have 2 classes, young women 12 and young women 13 to 18. Or if you have a large ward with 60 young women attending, geez, what kind of ward is that? I've never seen a ward like that before, but I guess it's possible. I've lived in Utah and I've never seen a ward like that, but I've always been in like the newlywed and nearly dead wards, or like the transitional wards where there's like a lot of apartments, so like people are always like coming in and out. So, okay, so all right. So you may have 6 classes, one for each age, organized by year. However your classes are organized, your young women are vital in building unity. Whenever I see unity, like I've said many times before on this channel, I think Zion. That's really what's being said here is vital in building Zion among the young women. Young women class names. Third, with this new class organization, all classes will be referred to by the unifying, or the Zion, I'd say Zion name of young women. We will retire the names Beehive, Maya Maid, and Laurel. Now, I've been a member of the church my whole life, but I don't know where this comes from. Maya Maid? What does that mean? I don't know. Okay, we all know what a beehive is. A laurel, that's like a tree, right? Isn't that okay, laurel, definition. Any number of shrubs and other plants with dark green glossy leaves. Okay, yeah, so just like the young women, right? An aromatic evergreen shrub related to the bay tree, several kinds of which form forests in tropical and warm countries. Whatever. Maya Maid. Okay, now, can I get a definition on what Maya Maid means? Maya Maid meaning. Let's see. A former. No. Okay. Mutual Improvement Association. Oh, okay. So Maya is actually, that stands for Mutual Improvement Association. Maids? So, whatever. Okay. I'm neutral on how I feel about these going away. Strengthening class presidencies. No matter how young women classes are organized, every class should have a class presidency. And then she goes on to talk about just how they need to have a chance to make decisions and be leaders, and not to do things for them, but let them make decisions and pray and receive inspiration and grow, essentially, have that chance to grow. Yes, this is how we gather Israel. There's that phrase again. A glorious work for all young women as members of the Lord's Youth Battalion. There it is again. And then 23. Yeah, that's a footnote or in a reference to the Hope of Israel, 2018 Worldwide Youth Devotional. So do you get the sense that that was like a really important devotional? Because I do. Okay, and that's all that I have for that. So yeah, just more, I think, hastening of the work, more focus on the second coming and the things that need to be done to get ready for the second coming, and a big focus on the rising generation. And I think it's pretty clear. I think it's pretty clear. All right, so if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, hit the notification bell, leave your comments, and I'll talk to you guys later.